And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because Dal, Joey, and I, we got started a long time ago trying to do this because we didn't want to be pissing people off during a fun time show. And now look at where we are. Here I am pissing off everybody else with everybody else. Good job! Part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Good to be back with you. Just to get it out of the way, physically speaking, I'm doing okay right now. I know I talked about it last week that, the leg pain and whatnot that I did. I took a controlled tumble this week, which prompted me to have to take a day off and make a half day at work during that. Fortunately, the way that I took the tumble was smart, stuntman style, so I didn't re-injure myself. I just made my leg really unhappy for a little while. I'm doing pretty okay right now, so with luck, I won't have to close up shop early. Being able to join me tonight from the right-hand coast of the U.S., where hurricanes shouldn't be an issue just yet. I say shouldn't be because I'm not taking for anything for granted these days. Unrenewed Tech, good morning.
Good morning. I have my portable solar panel, and I just recently received my USB charging cable for my Game Boy to replace the long ago busted wall wart. So I just keep the battery pack charged, and I can keep my Game Boy charged. I'm cheating. I'm cheating on my Game Boy. I'm sorry, Nintendo, but I have to see other people now. I was one of those guys was one of those people who picked up the analog pocket from back when they first came out. And I gotta say, it's been worth every penny to have something this cross-compatible with so many of the mobile console platforms from back in the day. It's and the battery life, oh my god. So yeah, if I get a hurricane, I will at least be highly entertained while I'm waiting for whatever hell that broke loose to calm down.
Fair enough. And on the left coast, Io is able to join us, and we'll see how long that lasts. Good evening, hon.
I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. I'm no longer being turned into a pincushion.
For the time being, at least.
Yeah, but I've got a 50-foot leash. I'm stuck on oxygen for the time being, which is a lot better than being in the hospital, unable to leave my room, or for that matter, my bed.
True enough. It's good to have. Yeah, the way that things have been going for all of us, basically, this past week has been a little weird. Let's just leave it at that. If we do have to close up early, we'll let you know, and it'll be what it'll be. So as always, everybody, thanks for joining us. If you'd like to join us as we're doing this live, of course, you can be here over on YouTube, and you can be part of the live chat. And yes, I did remember to break out the live chat to put it over on that side so that I can actually point and have it mean something correctly for me. So Stephanie was able to be here this morning. Hi, and welcome back. Of course, glad to have your schedule working correctly for a change. So, again, good job. It's going to be one of those things. There's a... I don't know what it comes from. I think it comes from some kind of an anime, but the clip of that has made the rounds for part of the reactor sets or VTuber reactions or whatever, where it's just a little anime chick just extending the big thumb down. Good job. No idea what that's from, but I mean, it's all of a second. It's cute. All right, leave me alone. That's what I got. Any case, I got stuff on my mind, but as always, I'm going to keep doing my job, even if it ain't exactly paying me for it. So let me go ahead, get things rolling, and we'll actually get into the proper piece of it all as quickly as we can. So with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts right here. Bunnies. Yeah. It is Easter weekend. It is now officially Easter Sunday here on the east coast of the U.S. because spooky mumbo jumbo spells and incantations and rituals for the Christians, because Easter is not a date so much as it's a wave function that needs to be collapsed as soon as you can figure out when it's supposed to have happen. You can predict these things easily enough because it's all based on the lunar cycle, and I don't remember how it's the first full moon after the spring equinox, something like that. I don't know what the hell it is. So whenever somebody goes ahead and says that, you did something stupid on this Easter Sunday and you set this up just so that you could, go against the thing of one of the greatest days in all of Christianity, blow it out your ass. You go ahead, you keep changing the date, and you get upset when your date falls on a date that's already been established years ago for something. Come on. Whatever. Now, the thing about me calling it about bunnies, of course, is that there are a number of reasons for this celebration, and we know full well that one of them is because it kind of sits on top of Fertility Day. I forget exactly what it was called, and really it doesn't really much matter. It was a pagan holiday, and I say pagan as a generic term. It was some day that was celebrated because it's mating season for some animals. And, of course, as we know full well, bunnies are really good at multiplication for some reason. The cooler part about it, for me, though, is that even though we haven't quite gotten into actual, warm weather where I live, you don't hear all of the same sounds from nature as what a lot of other people do. In my case, where I live, believe it or not, one of the things that I hear the most during the springtime weather, once we finally get to springtime weather, is peeping. And it's not birds, it's frogs and toads. And it's weird because I could make a recording of it and play it back, and people would just be like, that's the weirdest sounding birds I've ever... Those aren't birds. They're amphibians. So it's sexy season. Whether you want to think of it in those terms or not, it kind of is. And of course, to kind of go along with it, of course, with a lot of characters, the whole tongue-in-cheek thing is characters wearing the quote-unquote traditional Playboy bunny outfit. Now, you got to see where this kind of all comes into play. If there's one thing that I know full well, if I had ever been given the opportunity to go to, let's call it a gentleman's club, a strippers club, the ballet, as they call it north of the border here, or one of the more upscale ones like the Playboy Bunny Ranch or Mansion or whatever it was, I know full well, I know for a fact, I would only ever go once. It's not for the reason you might think. It's because I know for a fact my lady would have gone ahead, if not found, would have sewn her own outfit so that there would never be an excuse for me to have to go out to one of these groups again. So, if ever you wonder, is this a good time to have fun? Yeah. Is this a time to go ahead and play dress up and be naughty? Sure. Why? For no other reason other than it's fun. You don't need a rhyme or reason to enjoy life. And just because it's sexy season doesn't mean that you can't. Have fun. Do the things. Make people look at you and go, should you really be doing that? Yeah. Yeah, you should. I know that's not exactly the way a lot of these freestyles kind of go. I know I usually end up being, angry or upset or something like that. But, I was recently going through some collection of manila envelopes that we had. And believe it or not, I found one of the sewing pattern kits for Star Trek: The Next Generation's. It can't exactly call it a uniform, but the dress that Marina Sirtis wore in the early seasons of Star Trek, the purple jumpsuit dress, shall we say? I guess is probably the best way of describing it. The civilian attire, because she wasn't given a uniform for a long time. And my wife was gonna make it. She also had the sewing thing for Sailor Mars, because she was gonna do that also, because she had the long dark hair and she had the super red high heeled pumps because, why not? And it was one of those things where I thought on it and it's just like, well, what else would she have done given the opportunity? It's like, I know exactly what she would have done. And never would I have ever gone to New Jersey to go to the Playboy Mansion ever after that, after she got a hold of, sewing stuff for herself. So I had a good smile. I had a good smile with that. And guys, you can wear the suit too. You need to find a dancer's belt to wear with it, but yeah, you can do that too. Whether you like it or not, and maybe you will like it. You never know.
Somewhere in the annals of the Science Fiction Society in British Columbia, there's a picture of me wearing a Next Generation first season uniform that I hand sewed when I was 16.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, the full jump or the skirt?
The full jump.
Those were uncomfortable as hell too.
Yeah, and I couldn't get the ankle to work right. I couldn't get the bottom to work right, so I did something else. It worked for me.
All right.
And I was part of one of the Star Trek groups in the area, but everybody else in that Star Trek group was wearing the movie uniforms.
I can't say anything because that's my favorite.
Hey, I was proud. I made that thing and I had it until my mid-30s when somebody was desperate for a costume for their kid that needed something in a size 16. Yeah, I was a big girl. And I said, I've got this, but I'm going to want it back. Never got it back. Oh, well.
And one of these days, I'll actually get myself another phaser again. Maybe.
Somewhere I've got a couple sonic screwdrivers here.
That's fair. It's time for the horrible scopes. For those of you that know what your astrological sign is, cool. Those of you that don't, you can make it up as you go along. Don't really care how you do it. You could do it by flipping a coin several times. That doesn't always work correctly because sometimes it's going to land on its edge. Don't at me. It can happen. It is not statistically impossible. Just really highly improbable. Or if you want to do it the easy way, you can get yourself a D12. And if you're going to do that, go ahead and order it from the nice folks over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia, because not only do they like us, they haven't sent a cease and desist letter, which I think is kind of part and parcel. But you know what? I'll take what I can get because they still like us. It's Heart of the Game Fredonia. Hail, hail, Fredonia, home of the Blue Devil. I have decided that I'm going to take the standpoint of if I don't know what the mimic is doing, I can't be held liable if it does something. So I'm going with the ignorance defense.
Don't be a mimic. Don't be a mimic. Don't be a mimic. Don't. Every time you mention the mimic, I have to sing that song. You know.
It's fine. I don't think we're gonna get a DMC. I don't think we're gonna get hit for music. So
today was supposed to have been my D&D game too. The GM sent the 3 Fae people off to the Faelands, which is my character and somebody else's character and an NPC, off to the Faelands because the 2 of us couldn't make it. And my Fae granny sent cookies back to the rest of the party.
That's
Don't be a mimic. Don't be a mimic. Don't be.
So, as mentioned, it's kind of been an all over the map kind of week for us all, culminating in the use of some stream of consciousness and cryptid claims for me for all this time. Maybe it's nightmares brought about by eating spicy food before sleep. So not only do you not have a clue, we don't either. It's all just one big bubbling collection of WTF for us. So sit back and listen to everybody else's scope this week. You might like it better than your own. Aries, just because you saw it done on a TV show does not mean that you can do it yourself. There are a bunch of levitation tricks, most of which are simple to do and simpler to guess. So this week, yes, it is possible to levitate a person using only sound waves. That's easy. That's just machination. Doing it without turning all their internal organs to mush in the process is a bit more challenging, though. So don't do that.
Spell check on the first word in Taurus. Thank you, sir. Taurus, for those of you with computers running Microsoft Windows, we're about to make you mad. Open the calculator and take a screenshot of it. Open the picture and zoom in on the keys, specifically the 8 and 9. Compare that to the spacing of the other keys. So this week, ask yourself, why? Why? Then ask Thor at Pirate Software the same question. Why?
Do you know about that, by the way? No, don't. Just a yes or no, please. Do you know about this? Do you have a Windows computer?
Yeah, but the thing is that I'm running 11, and I don't think that has that issue. I'm thinking.
We will. I will have to add that to the show notes for this week so that people can understand.
Because that is, I just did it to it, and it looks completely normal.
I'll make sure it's in the show notes so that everybody understands what's going on.
Yeah.
Gemini, are you troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night? Do you experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic? I don't have either, so I don't have those feelings. Have you or your family ever seen a spook, specter, or ghost? If the answer is yes, then don't wait another minute. Pick up the phone and call the professionals. So this week, look, Ghostbusters phone hasn't been used in a very long time. Maybe, I don't know, call a moving company and get the hell out of that haunted house?
You'd think that would be the smarter thing to do. Cancer Moonchild, you grew up on tabletop gaming, but it wasn't all fun now, was it? Clue made you think of ways to get away with it. Mousetrap turned you into the most convoluted engineer. And we're not going to get started on why playing Twister with you is a bad idea. I'm also going to put a personal one in here. The bane of my existence, perfection. I still hate that. I still hate that game to this day.
No shell shock from that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shell shock at all.
You know what?
An operation.
I heard a rumor that people who have survived both perfection and operation without getting any kind of childhood trauma make really good EOD specialists.
That's because they're psychopaths. So this week, we got a great game idea for you. $1 million concept. You ready for this? 4D Connect 4.
Leo.
You hold him down, I'll punch him.
Nah, I'm too old for that. Leo, I just run him over in my car. Leo, there's still time, still some time ahead for your birthday. So now's the time to start planning things out. And since you're older and arguably more mature, we're not suggesting a week-long pub crawl. The last time you did that, you were literally crawling around. So this week, how about planning a bowling alley crawl? You and your mates play as many 3-game matches as you can, in as many alleys as you can get to, every day for a week. We bet your personal average won't break 175. Them's fighting words.
Bring it on.
I'm not a Leo, and that's fighting words.
Virgo, you're not crazy. There really will be more animals around you than normal. You're not suddenly a Disney princess, trademarked, but you're smelling more attractive to them. Cut back a bit on the sugar in your coffee. So this week, or maybe it's just that early batch of mosquitoes that have surfaced and the birds and bats are getting a good feed in. And if you're like me, the skeeters like you. A lot.
Yep. I have bats out where I live out in the countryside, and I can see them in the early evening coming out and flitting about. Why do I like that? Because it means that they get to feed. Libra, as much as we'd like to tell you good things are coming, that'd be a lie. Don't get upset, though. It's just that things will be pretty mediocre, so nothing especially noteworthy, either good or bad. But there is something that you can do about it. So this week, take a long, warm, meditative shower and listen to your mind. It'll want to say so many things at once. Let it and listen.
Scorpio, there are people who think you insulted them. Recently. When they said Happy Easter, you replied, May the luck of the 7 Pillars of Gulu protect you. Yeah. Almost nobody understood that reference. So they thought you were mocking them. So this week, we're not sure you weren't insulting them, but at least we understood the reference. Well done, Starfighter. Centauri approved.
Yes, I did that this week. People didn't understand.
That was one of the movies that I took my mother's best friend's son to go see on one of the babysitting trips that I was supposed to do with him.
Bloody cougar.
What did I do? I took him out of the house, took him to a movie for a couple of hours. His mom, a nurse, got to sleep.
There you go.
Hey, man, if you had done that to me, I would have high-fived you. Not you, But Sujin, if you had wished me the luck of the Seven Pillars of Gulu.
Sagittarius, we have to talk to you about your taste in music. No, we're not going to suggest you listen to modern performances like The Weeknd. The Weeknd is a Canadian band, and it's Weeknd, not Weekend. Like,
Yeah, that's why it's in quotes.
yeah. Okay, just making sure you've got the right band.
No, I'm making sure that Sagittarius understands it's pronounced that way. I don't trust them to figure out how to say it correctly and have it be understood.
Them's fighting words. We're not thinking you do that, but we can suggest you change up what you have on repeat for your playlist. How about less 1976 and more 2009? Maybe less ABBA and more Abney Park? So this week, we're not expecting miracles here, but would it kill you to at least try?
Yeah, I didn't realize until just now that basically I zeroed myself and didn't even realize it with that.
No comment. No comment.
Capricorn, with the next console releases about to happen, how about you get an old one and play those games? Best part, besides the reduced prices, are the familiar titles. Luigi's Mansion, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, Pikmin, Beautiful Joe. And what Nintendo system would be complete without its own Mario Kart game? In this case, that would be Mario Kart Double Dash. So this week, if that doesn't pique your interest in buying a GameCube, how about a beloved game of yours from your current collection? Animal Crossing. Go buy one today.
I was really surprised by how many good games were actually available on the GameCube. Aquarius, what's it like being you, Aquarius? People think it's easy to be, just you. But we know you're closer to being three kobolds in a trench coat than just you. Do you have too many voices in your head? Or maybe you're trying to get all your ducks in a row by herding them with cats. In any event, expect people to be looking at you in curiosity. So this week, we really don't know what's coming for you. Don't be too worried, though. If there was something really to be worried about, we'd already have known about it. It's like you're trying to make them more paranoid than they already are.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to say that part out loud. Never mind.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea.
Pisces. Can you still hear us, Pisces? We heard that Valhalla rejected you, Stovacor refused your entry, Elysium withered at your feet, and Heaven and Hell both have conflicting reasons for kicking you back to the other, all filed in triplicate via dot matrix printers, no less. We warned you. We really warned you not to ignore or make fun of drunk squirrels. But did you know, but did you listen to the warning? Of course not. So this week, you have only one shot at this. Pray to Doreen Green and tippy-toe to beg forgiveness.
If you don't know who that is, that's a strike against you. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, I don't know how. But, of course, if you'd like something nicer or naughtier for yourself or someone else, you can bribe me by asking, because I operate heavily on vanity. Or if you'd like to literally bribe me, you can do that at the coffee page. That's coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted online at the end of the week. Tumblr, Facebook, Coffee, Discord, Blue Sky, because Blue Sky is where all the cool kids are this week. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I don't know what anybody's got to say about it. I don't care.
My first thought was Doreen Green was Red Green's wife.
No.
And then my second thought was comic book character. Oh, her. Yeah, I know who she is.
Yes, you should.
I had a first edition at one point.
This is episode 532 on the docket, Your Honor. The net is not democratic speech for all. First off, I'm going to blame Io for having me tripping over my own words right now, because I refuse to believe that I did it my own damn self. So
It's just a lark dancing by, looking for a button to press, that red button.
So long time ago, back when Dallin was still a regular force, and he's doing okay, by the way. You know, he's just got other stuff that he does, you know, that would have otherwise be eating into his time with us, and, you know, gets tired. So, you know, no big. But one of the things that we used to talk about, because we thought it was just amazing to us, really, is the possibilities of the democratization of what the internet brings. And a good portion of it had to do with entertainers. If you were in a band, or if you were a single music person, you could bring your music, your vision, your entertainment to millions upon millions of people without the overhead of having to go through a production company or distribution company or all of that other stuff and get stuff into physical media and sales. You could just do it your own damn self. Just put it up there and, well. But if there's one thing that we've learned, very heavily so, is that democratic process of being able to find people's voices, of being able to share people's voices, share our own voices, is not the way that everything has operated. Not over the last, I don't know how many years. Arguably never. Arguably. So I want to talk a little bit about how cynical my view has gotten of what the internet has become, what it's turned itself into. Where is it, or was it ever truly democratized? And is that really a good or bad thing in any event? So I'm going to start off by kind of showing the cynical side of it all for me. And it's not something that we haven't already heard about. Let's briefly, very briefly, mention Twitter. And if anybody's going to give me shit about dead naming an app, you can go ahead and you can tell me whatever it is that you want. It will still be Twitter to me. Because if X is a variable, and a variable can be pretty much anything, I'm naming that variable to be Twitter. Because that's what it was before. And if anybody knows anything about programming, keeping a variable consistent is really, really good idea. So, once upon a time ago, Twitter was not having its thumb put on the scales. Once upon a time ago. So that the idea was that if you had people that you knew that were part of the microblogging site, as what it technically is what it's called, that you were all basically part of a group text messaging system. I mean, really, that's really what it came down to. At least originally, at first. You could share your ideas in basically a group text message, and people could see what was going on, could even comment on it, could give their opinions and not formally join, or maybe formally join and follow along and maybe follow back. And it was a big spider web of interrelatability for people. And then the suits decided, well, we need to try to make money. So they started adding ads and put their thumb on the scales for what got through to other people's feeds in the hopes that maybe they would generate something resembling operating expenses. And it wasn't so bad. I mean, it was a little annoying because, you know, the ads would come through the feed, and sometimes you could shut them down. A lot of times you couldn't because, you know, there was always this new account that was coming up with something. But ever since its acquisition by the Emerald Boy, I'm trying to find new ways of describing it, it's come to be a cesspool. Some have said it's been a cesspool for far and away longer than that, and I don't disagree. But it's been very much tinkered with. If you say something bad about people who are involved in the operation of said microblogging site, suddenly the account that you had there is not in great shape. Maybe locked down temporarily. Maybe lose access, or it completely purged out for nothing that you did other than voicing displeasure in a third party's group, maybe on a talk show, on a blog somewhere else, maybe in a news interview. And here's why I'm saying this is part of that not democratic process. It's a private company. By technicality, their house, their rules, and they can do whatever the hell it is that they want. And it doesn't matter that it's not fair. It's their house, their rules. They can do what they want. Which belies the small problem of, if it's seen as the de facto spot for people to interact with each other in such a fashion, one would think that you've got some kind of a professional responsibility to be fair and equitable, to not fuck around with everybody. But that's not the case. It's not going to be the case. Not for a very, very long time. And if that's only one example, we could talk about pretty much every other example. Every other commercial venue.
Credit. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
But when we get a little bit further into it, I will show you where there is one area of the internet where I do believe it was rather democratic and quote unquote free and open. But it's an archaic one, and we'll talk a little bit further about that in a second. So while I am going to open it up to the rest of the guys, by the way, Lexa, see you over there. Hi, good morning. Good to have you. So, which of you two want to go ahead and rail against whichever group has put their thumb on the scales, or however, because there is no lack of groups to make mention about or how they've done it.
F you, Spez. You destroyed Reddit.
What he said.
Now, see, I can't say anything about that because I'm not a Reddit user. I occasionally get answers to questions that take me over there, and I read what's necessary, and then I leave it. And
long story short, he tried. Well, what he did was first off, Reddit tried to make their own app, and they failed miserably. I mean, they made an app. It technically works, but it sucks. But more importantly, it truly did not function well if you were one of the many people volunteering your free time to be a moderator in Reddit. Most moderators in Reddit were volunteers. The vast majority of them were volunteers. And because of that, they needed to have tools at their disposal to be able to respond in a timely fashion. And they couldn't do that with the official app. So they used third-party apps that were, some of them, some third-party apps, if you were an admin, they were great for you, while other third-party apps were much better experience for the user, myself included. And Spez, who basically, like a better phrase, kind of owns Reddit. His name, he brought in investors, and he convinced them that Reddit was going to make them a whole lot of money by bringing in all this advertising and everything else, and they could run the bots systems and all this other stuff. And the majority of the user base of Reddit said, please don't do this. That we protest. Do not do this. You will destroy everything that Reddit stands for. Reddit was a major source of information, the way Wikipedia is. Okay? And I mean, I learned more in the Flashlight forums there than I did in almost any other forums except for the Candle Power forums, which have been around probably, I think, longer. Technical problems, computer problems, IT problems, refrigerator problems. You could find a graybeard in Reddit who could walk you through the problem and get those things done, right? And if somebody was giving you really bad advice, at least with regards to technical advice, I'm not going to talk about medical or psychological because that's what doctors are for. Same for legal. That's what those are for. But your standard mechanic and engineer and IT person was all over Reddit. And, you know, it was a wonderful wealth of knowledge. What ended up happening was he started charging for the APIs, for the API calls from non-Reddit approved applications, which means anything other than the Reddit app, at an exorbitant rate. So much so that the companies who made the third-party apps who were willing to pay and willing to negotiate a price said, "Oh hell, we can't we can't pay those prices. We can't even pass that along to our users, our customers. They won't use our product anymore." Which is exactly what Reddit wants. Reddit wants the Reddit experience on the Reddit app only.
That starts to sound suspiciously like who was it? Unreal? That decided that they were going to start charging for the Unreal Engine use or something like that. I forget which one it was.
My brain's Swiss cheese, so I'm gonna have to.
It's fine. I'll
yeah,
figure
that's
it out.
something we'll have to look up later. Yeah, there's a lot of game engines and software engines that died a nasty death because of greed. But yeah, people boycotted. You know, Spez had them kicked off. Moderators who volunteered their time protested. They didn't toe the line. They were kicked off. Things were locked down. The API charges went through. Most of the third-party apps died. There's a couple that are, I think there's like 2 or 3, but you have to pay for them, and they're not cheap because of those API calls. But the investors did come in, and there is advertising all over the place. More importantly, there's bots all over the place that you ask a question, you might get a bot answer pointing you to a preferred product, not a true solution. And it was so bad that the people poisoned the well. A lot of people, before the outside calls were able to be shut down, a lot of people used a third-party application to literally go through their entire account history of posts and rewrite them and edit them in every forum, every subreddit they were part of, to make a single statement like, I've removed this data because Spez was a jerk, blah, 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 whatever, yada, 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 whatever. So there is a lot of information that was on Reddit, really good stuff, that is gone now. Some subreddits decided to toe the line just to hold on to that information, for the sake of the internet. But yeah, I would not go on Reddit in this day and age. And except for very old posts of reliable engineers, IT professionals, and so on that left a lot of their marks behind, I would not go on Reddit today, ask a question, and expect to get a non-bot primary answer. It's a nightmare. A lot of people on Reddit went to Lemmy. In fact, they're still migrating because I'm on Lemmy. And we see them still coming in. Especially since people are starting to try to figure out and understand the concept of federated systems. It's a new concept for a lot of Reddit users. So
I've been on Reddit forever. What text describing is the truth. The entire boycott, the bots coming in, the investors, the mods getting their asses handed to them. It was nasty. It was really nasty. In fact, it's still nasty in some places. Some of the Reddits are just, you look at them and you wonder why the FBI hasn't gone to every single user of that Reddit to have a little chat. And I still use Reddit. It's one of the places I used to love. A couple of other places that I used to love was Slashdot.
Wow, that goes back.
Yeah. Twitter. The only reason why I still have accounts on Twitter is because I can't remember the passwords to actually kill the accounts. So technically they're still alive, but they're just not existing. Then there's also Facebook. I have 2 accounts on there, my Canadian and my American account, and I haven't used them in ages. I don't like what Zuckerberg and the Muskrat have been doing with all the social media. I found out that one of my favorite artists had cancer about 2 months ago because I managed to see a random line somewhere that Colleen Durant has cancer or is recovering from cancer or some line like that. I haven't been on Twitter in ages to read any of her posts because that's where she was posting in order to find out that she had cancer, because I would have sent her slippers or a hat or something to show that I support her.
Yeah.
I go on to Twitter. I go look on Twitter because my computer will still let me use my account. And I basically look at it, and it's a dumpster fire. I look at it to verify that a posting on Reddit about something on Twitter is legit still, to get my own screenshot of what it is, so I can post it as well. Because
I had,
of course, there's that one social media site that is very orange flavored with rants.
Mm-hmm.
Which is anything but truth.
Yeah, I was about to say that I had four accounts over on Twitter. I intentionally manually found all the accounts that, of the 4, I was doing one of them that I was intentionally going through, finding all the accounts that I was following, are they over on Blue Sky so that I can follow them over there? Cool. Found you, followed. And then, okay, I've gone through this collection, unfollow. Just unfollow all of them, so that if I had them over on Blue Sky instead, cool. And if they're not, now I know full well I didn't do that for all 4, but you know what? It's been months, and I don't go over there. There is unfortunately the occasional, oh, I should really take a look at this. Oh, that takes me over there. Oh, all right. It's still logged into one of those accounts. Whatever.
It's the Trumpster fire effect. You want to see what stuff's being thrown at the general public, and you want to see proof of it, which is the only reason why I even go on Twitter. It's the Trumpster fire.
Yeah. Which...
And it's just... You look at it and you just kind of shake your head, and you go back to your other social medias where you feel happy and safer and more able to do stuff. Like, I follow a bunch of Reddits about the protests that are happening. Do I post anything? No. But I follow, I look, I watch, and whatever. I also follow several of the health ones, especially the diabetes ones, because, diabetic here. And I got told off that I don't know anything about diabetes by somebody who was basically parroting the exact same thing back to me that I was parroting, that I was telling people about. That there isn't just one or two sorts of diabetes. There's actually about 100 different types of diabetes, but everything but type 1 is lumped in as type 2. Type 1 is usually acquired when you're a child, and it's autoimmune, and it's your pancreas basically going tits up. And everything else is type 2, which isn't real because it's not just type 2. There's Modi 1 through 5 at least, possibly up to 13. I've been hearing news reports. There's LADA, which is latent on adult diabetic, something.
But yeah,
basically type 1, but you acquired it as an adult, and so on and so forth. But they just lump it all in as type 2. And then there's the yarn Reddits, and then there's other Reddits. There's BDSM Reddits. There's pony Reddits. There's this Reddits. There's Minecraft Reddits. There's the gaming Reddits. There's this. If it exists in real life, there's probably a Reddit of it.
Yeah. If there's something that could be asked for more information about a topic, as I've understood it, generally speaking, Reddit's going to have it. Mm-hmm. And the joke is, if there's a thread where somebody said, I solved my problem. Oh, no, sorry. If you find a thread that's technically involved and the question basically just ends and nobody's actually come up with an answer, that somebody could create a throwaway account, post to the thread, at the end say, hey, it's me. I found out how to fix it, and all I did was and put some answer that was absolutely incorrect, and then leave it. Very, very shortly thereafter, there will be a slew of people who will go ahead, give you all kinds of hell and grief about it, and say, no, what you actually wanted to do was this to solve it, because we don't believe you. Oh, now I finally have the answer that I needed. Thanks. Which is a really shitty way of doing it, but it's a pretty well guaranteed way to make sure that somebody's going to go ahead and make sure that, yeah, I'm not going to show up somebody. No, I'm absolutely going to show up somebody because I know better. Because it's the way it works. There is something that I have to grudgingly give credit to. I don't say this lightly. If the purpose of a microblogging website. We're going to call it a website because effectively that's what Twitter was. It was a website, and then there was an app that was created in order to access the website and do all the things. If one of the greatest purposes was to connect people of similar interests together, boy howdy, have the right wing, I think it would be wrong for me to call them crazies. I don't know that it would be inaccurate, however, to be able to collect together the Red Hat Biddy Brigade joining forces in one locale so that they could all circle jerk each other. It has succeeded beyond the expectation of most people who otherwise thought, shouldn't these groups just, I don't know, eventually just evaporate because they should be stolen of all their oxygen? So, credit where credit is due, I guess? Question mark. I mean, once upon a time ago, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I think one of the only places where it's got a bad rap, but it's not really that bad, believe it or not, is Tumblr. Surprisingly enough. Again, it's not great, but it's not bad.
She liked Tumblr.
That-
There
that-
was some good prawn on Tumblr. Yeah.
Well, that's where the horrible scopes are primarily posted because it allows for a long form thing every time. So that works out well.
Well, what was it, about 5 to 10 years ago, Tumblr decided that they were going to aim themselves at the under 18 crowd. So all of the prawn went poof. There was a couple of really good groups that I liked to read and participate in, and I haven't been able to find them anymore. And one of them was the Submissive Coffee Club. Every couple days there would be a new prompt for your journal, and you could write it out and think about your needs as a submissive, or for that matter, as a dominant. Just because it was a submissive coffee club does not mean that dominants couldn't say things either, or write things either.
There you go. And I just added it to the show notes, the Tumblr account for where the horrible scopes are posted, because some folks might find it interesting.
I found out a lot of my son, when my son was in high school, a lot of him and his classmates used Snapchat a lot. But they communicate on a different level, as each generation generally does. I remember him showing me how they did it. You know, they would snap a picture or something like that. Then they would edit the picture and inject a whole lot of emojis, and then they would send it. And he would scroll through the picture and give it like a 2-second look and scroll the next one. I said, dude, wait a minute, hold on. What just happened in that one? And he goes, oh, well, and then he would go into a long explanation that the combination of the pictures and the emojis in that picture told. And in 2 seconds, he had several paragraphs of information like that in his head, which I think I may have mentioned on a prior show. One of my teachers kind of predicted something very similar back in very early 90s, referencing the Egyptians with the hieroglyphics and everything else, that we would kind of return to that as our languages and our technology advanced. Guy was a futurist or something.
Yep.
He was amazing. A lot of my classmates laughed it off. I remember that lesson very well, and my son just demonstrated. So I mean, there's a lot of good that can be done, and a lot of amazing progress made with the, social communication tools and such. Advancements in communication and understanding. But when you have, the grifters and the narcissists and the greedy people come in and go, well, why bother if I can't squeeze every goddamn penny out of it? And then they go and they shitify it. You are literally strangling people, their ability to communicate. Well, people should go next door and talk to their neighbors. Have you met your neighbors? Some neighbors don't necessarily need to be communicated with, at least not verbally.
Some don't want to be. Hi.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's like, if my neighbors come over, they know they can come to me with a problem. But I'm not the guy on the block you want to sit down and have a chit-chat with. Because I'm usually doing something and I don't have time to chit-chat. And when I do have time to chit-chat, I'm usually online with the people that I enjoy chit-chatting with. The people who I like to play games with, the people I like to socialize with. Some of those people I have met in real life. And I've actually attended gatherings with. I went to a convention with one such person. So it's not that I'm antisocial. I'm more selectively social. I do open myself to talking to other people. I don't have a problem with talking to other people, even people of differing opinions. But I'm not about to sit and chat with my neighbor about the lawn, okay? Or the weather. That's not a me conversation. All right? And if I want to go out in nature and have a conversation with somebody in nature, I know who I want to do that with. And again, it's not my neighbors. If my neighbors are having problems, they can come to me and I'll help as best I can. They know that because we do talk when we're out and we happen to be out at the same time. But they don't just come up with a rambling conversation. And it's just the way I am. Okay. I'm also the same guy who doesn't like to go out with his coworkers after work. It's like, look, we just had to work a whole day together. I need some break from you. I don't want to spend another 4 hours with you, okay? I got shit to do.
That's fair.
Some people don't understand that. And some people are like, well, you're destroying your social networking skills. And it's like, or ruining your skills. And it's like, okay, there's a very real statement there. But at the same time, shutting down and acidifying the other communications tools, it does the same thing. I mean, LinkedIn is terrible now. I wouldn't put anything on LinkedIn anymore. LinkedIn is a target. If you have a profile and some of your information on LinkedIn, you have now set yourself up as a target for spear phishing attacks and all sorts of stuff to try to get not your LinkedIn profile stuff. They don't want your LinkedIn account details. If they see something in your profile on LinkedIn, they want to see if they can get, information about your job, possibly credentials for your job. Find out, use you to get to other people to your job. I mean, it's a very real threat. It's such a real threat that even the military has told people, like, look, we're going to backtrack here and say, don't put this information out on LinkedIn anymore. Yeah, don't do that. Don't put this, don't put that, don't put this. Before it was just, hey, don't put some of this information on Facebook. Now it's like, don't put this information on Facebook. Oh, and by the way, don't put this kind of information out on LinkedIn.
Yeah, folks don't really understand the security risks that are that are available to just common casual searching anymore, and trying to backtrack information to find family members, relations, past employers, and then if you were working with a past employer that had a computer security system, looking through old password databases and trying to hack through current, because maybe you were reusing passwords or that kind of thing. It's absolutely insane, and it's not something that we really think about. But I want to kind of get a little bit more back on track to where I was trying to get with some of this stuff.
Yeah,
A piece of this semi-social stuff that has worked out very well. There are two that I can think of that have actually done fairly well for themselves, very well in some cases. SoundCloud and YouTube. Obviously, we have an operating budget of basically negative amounts of money. And I do not say that lightly, because keeping the domain running, that's me. That's an outlay of money from me. And it's admittedly tough to do. It's tough for me to do that. But I keep doing it. Because I do truly believe that what we do is, worthwhile. But even with that, even if we had a budget of zero, of whatever we've got involved with it, we're able to do this on YouTube for nothing. We don't have to pay YouTube for this. They make their money because of advertising that they put in, which, okay, you know what? They're providing a free platform. I'm not going to say a free service, a free platform for us to utilize. Hell, the software that I'm using in order to put this up on YouTube is all free. I could be doing this through Linux. I haven't been because of reasons. But, the version of Windows that I got, which, by the way, it's Windows 10. I'll admit it. I paid for. The streaming software is OBS. It's free. The communication software that we use is Discord. It's free.
I paid for the yearly membership for Discord for the extra perks.
For me, it's free.
Yeah.
I
support.
You don't have to pay for Nitro,
Right?
Unless you want those features. That's different than Discord suddenly saying, "Hey, everybody, you've got to pay $10. Oh, and we're not giving you anything extra for it. In fact, we're actually going to take away some features."
But I pay for Discord because I actually support Discord and other programs. I pay for the basic accounts if I can.
Yeah.
Right. No, I get that. I'm talking about the shitification of stuff. He's making a point of what he can do with these free tools.
Yeah.
I know. Free tools, free toys. Yay! It gets us up. It gets us talking. It gets us having these discussions.
Yeah. And we are grateful to these groups, these coders who have done this kind of stuff. Because things like I was saying, things like Linux, it is quote unquote free, but they do absolutely say, hey, look, could you please? You don't have to, but could you please help us? And the vast majority of Linux coding is because they can, which is great. Now, YouTube, like I said, it is free ? Because there is advertising, and we know that, we understand that, and a group that serves ungodly amounts of data and stores ungodly amounts more. Yeah, I can absolutely see where they kind of need to, get some money one way or another. I get it, totally get it. And I'm not against that. I am very I am very unaware of how SoundCloud operates as a company. I have seen where maybe not exactly through the lens that we would otherwise call up and coming musicians and performers and such, have utilized it in order to put up their own stuff, to put it out there for folks to sample so they can purchase it if they like it, if they want to support, have interaction with the band. You know, it's a great thing that way. And I applaud them. There are some amazingly talented people who are not signed on to a record label or distribution company for exactly the reason that we can do it ourselves. And we don't have to, we don't have to get an advance that only needs to get paid back later anyway, because we're doing what we're doing. We got a day job, we're financially well off, and we're doing this because it's fun. I love that. And Dallin would agree. That's a great thing, because you find these individuals, these groups that you would have otherwise never heard about unless you went down, to hear them play at a gig, assuming that they were, doing gigs. So that part, I love that part. I absolutely love that part. It doesn't happen very often. I mean, hell, it used to be that if you were really good, you could get yourself a record cut, literally cut, at like a paid for studio where they had studio musicians and whatnot. I talked about this before, at like Coney Island. You could go in, you got your music, cool. Here's a little booth for you. Give us a couple of minutes just to go through the music, make sure everything looks right. Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead and cut your record. And they literally cut a 45 record for you in the studio. And here you go. You want us to make more so that you can hand them out or sell them? Yeah, we can do that. Times changed, man. Used to be actually carving a record, and then it was cassette tapes, and then it was CDs, and then we'll just stream it, because you can do that from anywhere. It's wild.
Yeah, TikTok is one of those platforms where up and coming artists just had fun, and they got noticed, and they had more fun, and they got noticed, and they got more fun. And you can have.
There was one guy. I don't remember which platform he was on. I think it was on TikTok. The one guy who danced to whatever the hell the song was, whoever the artist was, and he's inside his house. He's got his booty shorts on and whatnot, and he's got the rainbow wings, and he's got the wig, and he's throwing the wigs, and he's throwing the wigs.
That was on Facebook.
It was on Facebook that he did.
And it was on Facebook originally. God. He also put it on TikTok, and I think it's also on YouTube, and as well as other social medias, because of course people shared it all over the place. And I absolutely adored him the first time I saw him do that. It was flamboyant. It was so gay. It was shitting rainbows.
And then he got the chance to actually perform it live with her in her concert, and it was freaking amazing. Sorry?
Was he dancing to all the single ladies?
He was dancing to the... You remember how Freddie Mercury said, "I play the audience, baby"? He played the audience.
No. Was he wearing kind of like a onesie and...
He's done several of them.
But I mean, he was dancing to the single ladies, and a lot of people ripped on him. And then the artist who did that song had him come out on stage in a live performance. Is that the same guy?
I don't remember. It might be. We're gonna have. That's another one we're gonna have to look up and put into the show notes for that. But that was freaking great. It was freaking great. Just watching the doing it live, where pulling off a whole bunch of different wigs one at a time, and then finally lifting the one up with all the rainbow confetti that came out of it. It was just great.
His name is Mark Kanamura.
Oh, you're gonna put it in.
Kanamura?
You're gonna put it in the thing, right?
And I'm going to put in the TikTok one because there's like 3 or 4 Facebooks. There's an Instagram version. Yes, Instagram is also Facebook. But yeah, I found one of the TikToks.
Yep. I'll go
And-
looking on YouTube also to make sure that, stay in the relative ecosystem too. Oh,
Because he is.
it was fun. When all is said and done, it was fun.
Is that the guy you're talking about, Tech?
Hold on, gotta look.
That looks like it's the right guy.
Yep.
That looks like the right guy.
I'm not in show notes. No, that's different than the guy I'm thinking about.
That's okay. We can find.
Because he does several of them. I can see several different versions of what he's done. Pink booty shorts, pink wig.
You gotta love
Just love
people. You gotta love some people.
Hey, I got handed a gold duck last time I was at Pride.
There you go.
Gold rubber duck.
But don't forget, that freedom of expression scares the extreme conservative groups and the extreme religious groups. Because, oh my God, what if their child sees it? They're going to grow up and turn gay.
Could be worse. I could grow up and become conservative.
And Christian. Yeah, that kills me, man. All the times when it's been these people who have been, I'm gonna drop something here that's going to be uncomfortable for some. And if they got problems with it, you're welcome to come and take it up with me. There is the running, I'm not going to call it a running joke, but there is the running argument, the complaint that the reason why the world is in such hell is because of the entertainment industry, because it's run by left-leaning liberals, and I'm not going to use the more nasty terms, but they also end up complaining because, quote unquote, the entertainment industry and Hollywood are run by the Jews.
I was waiting for that.
So fucking what? I asks you, so fucking what? Because if there is one name that we can throw out there where these people probably wouldn't even think about it, but they would go ahead and say, oh yeah, I love some of the stuff that he's done. Mel goddamned Brooks. Mel goddamn Brooks. Who, when he finally shuffles off this mortal coil, I am not going to believe it's happened because I would not put it past him to go ahead and make a joke at his own expense. Because he's amazing. But Mel Brooks.
98 years old as of June 20th last year. So he'll be 99 this year.
I do not use this expression lightly. God love him. The man has been smart. He has been sharp. He has given interviews where he's actually explained what makes comedy work. He's explained it to people so that they could do well themselves. He pushed the envelope. He argued and fought for things that he said they're not good enough. Fine, it's good enough. The scene from Young Frankenstein, the putting on the Ritz thing, Mel didn't want it. Mel didn't want it in the movie. And Gene Wilder fought with him, yelled, argued with him. And then after, I forget how long it was, like almost a half an hour, Mel finally just said, you know what? Okay, it's in. Just like that. And Jesus is like, what? What just happened? He's like, well, I figured if you really thought that hard about it and you were really that passionate about it, yeah, it's probably good. Okay, let's do it. The man understood. The man knows. And I got bad news for some of you people out there who don't like this idea. The man's a Jew. But again, who fucking cares? Why? Why does it matter? There are so many people who are in the entertainment business, one way or another, who are. What difference does it make? Because I got bad news for you. There are a lot of people who are very much not, who are Christian and conservative, who have tried to be in the industry, who have decided that who they are as a Christian, as a noble Christian who needs to go ahead and let everyone know, kind of the same way that people say that vegans are supposed to be, who have suddenly found themselves iced out of entertainment because of who they are, which loosely translates into assholes.
Oh, like what's her face? Who?
Or the guy that used to be a starship captain once upon a time ago.
Wait, was it?
Yeah, we're not going to name names. We know who they are.
It was a Disney movie. And she was so toxic a personality, with her statements to the press and everything else, that she's basically kind of incognito now.
Yeah, there's a Star Wars person. There's a sci-fi person. There's a lot of them, but
yeah,
there's no lack of Christian television to put them on. But I mean, who cares? If you were better people and had better products, maybe, just maybe, it would work. Yeah. Lexa, I'm sure I have absolutely no idea who you're talking about there. That's probably not a name I'm familiar with. I'm sure that there's some. It's probably some kind of an acronym. I'm absolutely sure of that.
That's the name of Herculean proportions.
I really,
I prefer the Prince of Thieves myself.
Actually,
he's a much better person.
You mean autoclaves? I don't know.
No, I'm saying I think the actor of the Prince of Thieves is a much better person.
All I can hear in my head is Aladdin, but that's not quite the same kind of thing. By the way, Stephanie had said over here, saw a comment today that Jesus got crucified because he was woke. That seems to fit. By the way, I don't know that anybody else noticed. Full moon on Easter. You know what that means? Werewolf Jesus. Werewolf Jesus.
I got in so much trouble a couple of years ago at City Hall when somebody was wishing me a happy Easter, and I went, "Is it Lich Jesus this year or is it Zombie Jesus? Oh, wait, isn't it Werewolf Jesus? Yeah, Werewolf Jesus. Get the steaks." And I got looked at and I got told off. You shouldn't have said stuff like that. This is really a Christian place here.
I was really hard-pressed not to say Werewolf Jesus this week at work. I was really hard-pressed, but I deserve a gold star because I didn't do it. Give me a gold star.
Well, if you think about it.
Right there.
If you think about it, that's probably one of the most offensive and horrific symbols that anybody could wear. The symbol of a man being tortured and murdered around their neck.
Listen, I'd rather have the shirt that says "All praise He" and it's got the periodic table picture of helium, because there's a little poem. He is everywhere in the heavens and the earth. He makes the stars shine, yet he cannot be seen. He is noble, abundant, and fills the universe. He can lift you into the sky and bring you gently down. He can take many forms. He can help heal. He can help kill. He can help create, and he can help destroy. Praise be unto he, Helium.
So I want to, since we got a little less than half an hour, because I don't think I'm going to make it the whole half hour. I'm getting a little dicey over here. There is one area of the net that I want to kind of talk about because it is archaic at this point, but it is also arguably one of the most democratic services that had been available. I don't know how well available it is anymore because it's really tough to find dedicated apps for it anymore. Programs. I don't want to call it apps at this point because it's traditionally been programs. And I know full well, if I had my Amiga up and running again, I could easily find the program that I was using back in the day for newsgroup reading.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you that are
a good RSS feed reader,
for those of you that are too young to remember, because it's something that has fallen out of vision for folks, there is a service called newsgroups. The idea was that there were different interests that people had, and the newsgroups were bundled up into these newsgroups. And they had various different things that they were about, and you could get a newsgroup viewer or reader in order to catch up on what people were saying about these different interests. You could think of it kind of in a similar vein to what Reddit might be, but that would be kind of a disservice. But if you have a general idea on how Reddit is supposed to be drilled down for different areas, it's not quite like that, but there is definitely a methodology where you could look through different things. For instance, one of the ones that I know full well is going to raise some hackles, don't care. alt.sex.stories. Oh God, I forget what the hell it was. I think it was .d. .r.m. There was very specifically a moderated version where stuff got moderated. It got checked over to find out, did it qualify as, I don't want to say unconfrontational, legal. And I'm gonna use parentheses, scare quotes for it, legal. That it didn't have certain topics in them that could be problematic, legally speaking. And if you wanted something to read, you could go through that and check and see what was there. Some people did it, some didn't. A lot of people didn't, some did. I will admit, I did. Because I found some amazing writers there. Sternburg, for instance, who wrote an amazing chronicle, which was sci-fi based, but it had a lot of sex, had a lot of sexy stuff, had a lot of real stuff, as much as you can think of, sci-fi as being real. But there was a lot of character development. There was a lot of stuff where you could just fall into the world that he had created and go, holy shit, I'm crying because of a character that's decided that they've lived several hundred years at this point, which is not uncommon at all. And they've decided that they've seen enough, they've seen it all, and they are going to choose to turn themselves off. and they want the creator of their race to be there with them, to be their last fading memory. Oh shit. I now have to consider the existential dread of what happens when you can effectively be immortal and you've decided that you want to turn it off. And the one who is the first that created your species, who is themselves immortal, now has to deal with the idea of one of their children has decided that they no longer want to be part of this universe. And you have to be okay with being there with them to support them in their end-of-life moments. Sci-fi is great that you have to look at the world and go, oh, we're talking about voluntarily terminating our own lives, and the legality and the ethics and the morals of allowing someone to do that or disallowing someone to do that. Oh, this isn't just an escapism story. This is like deep. And it's just amazing to me that, again, like with some of these other ones, there are times where you will find someone who is just that good because you just happen to stumble across somebody who's putting out something creative and they are that good. And now I'm really wondering if the news groups even still exist as a thing that's like still being fed into anymore.
Well, a lot of the I previously, when we were talking about the news groups, I saw them as the next evolution of the old style bulletin board systems.
Yeah,
from back in the day.
Yeah, that's effectively what they were.
Yeah. And you can still find places where you can find moderated but open literature publishings, especially revolving around that of the erotic nature. Literotica comes to mind, for example. And it's just, yeah, I remember a lot of the news groups that I used to read. I had a lot of science fiction ones, a lot of fantasy style ones with magic and dragons and things like that. But I also have a bunch of technical ones, things relating to computers, programming, software, all that fun stuff. I do kind of miss those days. And I think if we see a lot more shedification of things on the internet, we may see them make a really big comeback. Because I know right now, there are publications there people are putting out, saying, hey, look, remember the days of the RSS feed? Yeah, with all this stuff with advertisements and all these algorithms that are sending you crap that you don't want to see anymore, for the stuff that you subscribe to and everything else, you can bypass a lot of that using RSS feeds. And I'm going, that's right. We did used to do that. To get straight to the point, because websites were very clunky, and RSS feeds made those sites easier to get to just what you wanted, And now it's not that websites are clunky; they're banner ad, 50 million things, click here, agree to this, give up your firstborn, blah blah blah, and then look, here's the articles that we want to show you, even though you've already indicated what your preferences are. We think you'll be interested in this instead. And I'm like, wait a minute, no. You know what? Screw it. F you. Bye.
By the way, I just put into the show notes the Wikipedia article for, and I'd forgotten just because it streaming in my own head. It was called USENET.
That's one of them.
Yeah, it's one of the big ones.
One of the big ones, yeah.
Yeah, because holy smoke, the stuff I remember, and it started The concept for it started in 1979. Damn.
Back when universities and colleges would connect temporarily to each other in order to exchange information.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn. And I still love knowing that back in '87, I was the one that wrote the original user manual for my college for everybody to be able to understand how email worked for sending messages and having them get received so that they understood the technical backside of it all. Just because I could. God, those were the days.
We're graybeards now, man.
It's true. It's true. But that's okay.
I
Man.
swear. I'm scrolling through Reddit and I came across, once again, why women live longer, and it's one of those idiots that likes to climb the outside of skyscrapers with no safety.
Yeah, it's a good. It's a distraction. It's not necessarily a good distraction, but it's a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lex has also put something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The things you can find on the internet. Just wow.
Yeah.
There's
find on the internet. Just wow.
Let's just say glass jars and human bodies don't necessarily fit.
No.
Yeah. There's a reason why there's an EMT on YouTube and various other platforms that goes. Those of you that are listening probably are not going to understand this one, but the EMT who will go.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do
No.
it. And he's got a buddy who's younger than him that goes, do it, come on, do it. We know you want to do.
Yeah.
I swear I met that guy on Thursday. I swear I met that guy on YouTube or on TikTok on Thursday. The younger guy. He looked the same, and he was giving me bad looks.
Yeah, but that's the fun, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I had to have a repeat visit to the hospital because something went bad for a bit.
Well, yeah, there is that. Lexa had said, "I'm hoping some of that is preserved somewhere, as those kinds of things will always remain worth reading. And as someone who writes does hit home, that good stories stick with people regardless."
There's good chances on the Internet Archive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the big reasons why why some politicians are trying to shut down the Internet Archive, because it screenshots the internet.
Yep. The funny part of it is, and people don't really understand this. Wikipedia. I'm going to use that as an example. If you wanted to archive Wikipedia, just the articles themselves, without all of the media and whatnot, you this is a 8 gig. This is an 8 gig thumb drive. I could, if memory serves, I could fit the current Wikipedia article base on this thumb drive. It's just text. It's just the HTML code because it's text. It takes up virtually no space. I could have the entirety of voluntary human knowledge for myself to take anywhere.
So here's the thing. There's a gentleman by the name of Noah Bailey. I put the link in show notes. Who did a project of how to survive the apocalypse with an offline copy of the Wikipedia and set it up as a server, right? And he talks about how Wikipedia creates a full database backup once or twice a month. And if you go there, you can literally get in static HTML dumps in HTML formats. You can get some of the Wikipedia editions through DVD download, DVD acquisitions, and so on. You can get XML SQL dumps. I mean, it's one of those things of, yeah, if you want to back up Wikipedia, you can do it. In fact, there's even software, XOWA, which is an open source application for managing Wikipedia database exports, right? And you can automatically manage the various versions of Wikipedia and languages that you've downloaded it, set up your own server, and literally make a hotspot of Wikipedia to share with other people. If you want the full Wikipedia, right? You basically a 20 gig storage device is good to go.
Damn.
But I mean, but if you want everything, if you really want all the bells and whistles, the pictures and everything else, you're looking at about 70 gigs. Well, if you had told me that like 20 years ago, I'd be like, wow, that's a lot of space.
70, huh?
Yeah.
See this?
Now, yeah.
This is a common, off-the-shelf SATA SSD that you can put in a standard desktop computer. I have 2 of these in my current computer over here. 500 gigs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This...
And they're a dime a dozen now.
Yeah.
Not quite, but yeah.
I mean, figuratively speaking.
Yeah. I mean, you can always find one that's on sale.
Yeah. And that's for clarity's sake, that's also Western Digital. Maybe not the greatest of reputations anymore, but it's good. OBS is trying to reconnect.